Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I know, it's the afternoon, man, and you're drinking coffee. I was joking with a friend of mine last night, coming from a law enforcement background. He has a military and law enforcement background. We were talking about drinking coffee. I know it's not the healthiest thing, but it's not terrible, and I drink organic. It's the best you can get, at least that I can get. And we were talking about how people talk about, oh, man, I got to cut back. I'm drinking 2 or 3 cups a day. And I told him, man, back when I was working on duty, it'd be like 2 or 3 gallons a day sometimes, because there were sometimes those shifts just never ended, and kind of feeling that way today. I got about 4 hours of sleep. Anyways, I wanted to give you a little bit of announcement in case you're doing nothing tonight and you want to listen to a radio show. I am going to be on a radio show tonight, a nationwide radio show. It's called the John B. Wells Show, the Caravan to Midnight, and many of you are familiar with it. A very, very popular conservative talk radio show, and it's on the Salem News Network, Salem Radio Network. He's on several dozen land-based radio stations. And then, of course, you can go to the John B. Wells Caravan to Midnight channel here on YouTube or Rumble or many other video platforms and watch it. I believe, I'm still waiting to get the confirmation, but I'll be on somewhere between like 9:30, that's Central Time. So if you're interested, might as well stop by and listen and let me know what you think. So some more fear-mongering today. I get this all the time from people, and I don't understand it. Why are you watching prepper channels? What if you want to learn how to make bug-out bags? You probably should have learned that a long time ago. And I know that's probably condescending, and I shouldn't say stuff like that. But the reality is that if you don't know what you're prepping for, then I don't understand why you consider yourself some type of prepper. And really, it's the same way with being a homesteader. It's a life of self-sufficiency, and you need to know what's going on so that you know how to prepare yourself for that. And today is more of that. This is a subject that we've been talking about recently quite a bit. And I'm not telling you this is the real deal, but it very well could be. I'll just go ahead and get right to it. Today, scientists say that they have confirmed that this H5N1 bird flu stuff, that they were saying a couple of weeks ago, warning that it's made a transmission, it's transmission into mammals, and they were worried that it could easily make a jump into humans. And then, a week ago, a few days back, there were a couple of cases in Cambodia. One person died from it. Well, now today they're saying that they have confirmed that the H5N1 has made a mutation to where it is now, humans can get it. It's now made its transition into humans. This could be real. It could be bad. It could be another distraction. It could be what all this other stuff is distracting us from. There's a lot. We're all over the board here. But I wanted to talk about it, and pretty much that alone in a video. There's certainly a ton of stuff going on. If you want to learn about just gardens and stuff, I do those kind of videos a lot of times over on Patreon. In fact, I just posted one today I was out in my garden. I'm trying to get the ground prepped for planting, and it's still a little wet, so I wasn't able to accomplish as much as I wanted. And I talk about other things. You want to know about other kind of news, I post news updates on Patreon several times a week. So I do talk about other things, but I think that this is significant. We have been hearing for the last 2 to 3 years, ever since the can we say, China flu now, or the Wuhan bug or something, now that the FBI has said that they believe 100% it came from China and Wuhan. I don't know, for a long time we couldn't say that. And I just said it, so I guess we'll find out if now it's okay to say those words. But anyways, we've been hearing since the beginning of that you folks better wait, because the next one's going to be worse. people like Bill Gates, the World Health Organization, even Fauci, Fakey, whatever, they've all warned about it, and they've warned that it would be an influenza, not a coronavirus, but an influenza, and that would be the devastating one. If you go back in history to the Spanish flu that killed so many people worldwide, it was an influenza, not a coronavirus. And so if this is real, if this is legitimate, it does have the possibility of being serious. Estimates, of course, it's not, got a lot of people sick yet, but estimates are that it could have a death rate of somewhere between 50 and 60%. I've seen down to the 30% range, 25 to 30% range, conservatively speaking, up to 50 to 60%. Regardless of what end that it actually lands on, if it's within those numbers, that's absolutely catastrophic. According to what I have researched, and I could be wrong, but it's just me, that the Spanish flu had somewhere like a 16 to 18%, maybe. So this is devastating. All the talk that many of you tinfoil hat wearers talk about all the time of how they want to reduce the size of the population, and I didn't bring my tinfoil hat out today, but because I'm one of you. Well, a 50 to 60% death rate for a global flu pandemic would certainly reduce the size of the population, and it would probably fix a lot of their worries about, the environment. Now, it's very early on, folks. Very early on, and this one's being handled obviously different than this past, health crisis, because they're talking about it before it happened and as it's happening, whereas the last one, it was all secret and hidden until, people started getting sick and they started hyping it up. I'm not saying that this thing's real. I'm not saying that this thing is the big one. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm not saying really any of that. I'm just bringing this out here because there has been a progression of talk and things in the news, along with other things, that Marburg or whatever, that one, the one that's kind of like Ebola, that one's been in the news a little bit. Back months ago, it was the monkey one. I can't even remember what that one was now. There's been a few of them. So this one may just fall to the wayside, like all these others that we've heard about over the last couple of years. But I'll tell you this, they have been really building the hype on this one for quite a while. I mean, look at how many, poultry birds were euthanized, were killed last year. They're saying 60 million, probably, or close to it here in the United States, and well over 100 million globally. So there's definitely a hype there. And if this is the real one, that's dangerous for everyone. If it's real, if it's really deadly, then it's going to be a very different scenario than the last one, because the last one, it was mostly the panic of it, the perception of what was going on is what caused people to panic, and that was really the danger, the perception and the reaction of government. But if this one comes along and it's the real deal, that's very devastating. In fact, many of you and myself, my wife, the people in our circle, we've talked about this, and I'm sure many of you have thought about this, that if the one that we've experienced for the last 3 years, if that was kind of a beta test, if that was kind of to just get things set up, get us conditioned, and then the next one would be a real thing. And so we're still going to have to wait and see on this, but being that there's just several things. It was like 2 weeks ago, World Health Organization was saying that they're worried and they're watching this, that everyone needs to be watchful and prepared for this because it's made its transition into mammals, quite a few different species, and that they were watching it globally and that they were very concerned that it could easily jump into humans. And then, like I said, a few days ago, it did that in a couple of cases, and now they're saying, well, it looks like it's made its jump. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a virologist, I'm not anything like that, but from my understanding, and maybe some of you are much smarter than this on this subject than I, so you feel free to jump in and school me or correct me or tell everyone that I'm correct in this. But according to science, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this is the truth and the facts and what I believe, it's just according to science, that viruses have this weirdness to them that they can't understand, and that when one little species of virus or one cluster or one group in one part of the country makes some kind of mutation, a jump, then the whole planet of those viruses make that mutation and jump very shortly after, even if they haven't come into contact. Like there's this, connection with all of them. Now, this is what I have read. I don't know if that's true. Please don't hold me to that. If there's truth in that, at least some of that, if it's made that jump in a certain part of the world right now, then it could make that jump everywhere shortly after. I know that sounds ridiculous. And again, I'm not the scientist in that way. I'm not a microbiologist or a virologist or anything like that. But anyways, if any of this stuff is true, and I know that's a big if, it's quite possible that this could happen. If you go back to World War I, World War I had the possibility of being one of the greatest wars ever seen on this planet. It was one of the greatest, and when I say great, I don't mean awesome. I mean great as in destructive and deadly and horrific. It was on that path. Okay, it was on that path to be absolutely devastating, and probably the death count would have been many, many times higher just due to the war if it hadn't been for the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu kind of shut it down. It made it difficult to fight a war if all your troops are getting sick and dying. And so some historians believe that the outcome of this World War II was different because of the Spanish flu. And here we are on the verge of a very real global war, where you've got Iran and Israel, looks like they're about ready to duke it out. You've got North and South Korea on the verge. You've got, of course, China, Taiwan, United States, Russia, Ukraine, NATO, United States. It's all over, right? Well, how differently would things change if H5N1 really did happen and really was as devastating? How different would the World Economic Forum? I mean, think about this. And these are just thoughts, so forgive me if they're stupid. I'm just a hillbilly, right? As much as we're saying, see, all this stuff's coming out about what we've been saying for 3 years about the the Wuhan stuff. We've been saying that for 3 years, and they've been telling us we were wrong, and now all the truth's coming out. The truth about that, the truth about the thing they put in your arm, all that kind of stuff. How much of that would just vanish? How much of the people that are starting to listen to that stuff would stop caring about that if 40-50% of everyone in the world falls over dead within months or a year or two? It would cause if it did that, and I know that's a big if, that's stretching out there, but honestly, right now where we're at in the world, it's probably not any bigger of a if than a nuclear war or a major EMP attack that takes out the grid. It's probably not any bigger of a deal than, or bigger, long shot of a chance than those things. And we're all talking about that and thinking that they're in the likelihood now. It would be absolutely devastating. I said this on this channel long before the whole coronavirus ever came into existence, that probably the worst case scenario for a prepper, the things that we prepare for, the worst case scenario would probably be a very, very deadly global pandemic. There's not too many things next to biblical stuff that could affect the whole planet and bring everything and everybody to its knees than a real, genuine global pandemic of something of this nature, of this high of a mortality rate. Now, I'm not saying all this to terrify all of you. We've gone through this before, and this could be all a big fake. It could be not nearly as bad as what was done before. It could be manufactured. It could be, there's all kinds of could be's. Okay, it's still too early for that, but we should certainly be paying attention to this one. I mean, when you've got all of these prominent people that are behind all of these kind of things, that have been saying repeatedly for a while that there's another one coming, it's going to be worse, and many times what they have warned about was an influenza, and now they're saying that the H5N1 has made the transition into humans. and it is mutated. So we need to be preparing for this. And again, it may not be, even if all that's true, it may not be as deadly. You know, there are some people saying that, well, there's different variants, and maybe some of the variants are less deadly and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, us little peons, they don't tell us anything that they don't want us to know anyway, so we're just kind of sitting here as cannon fodder. Bottom line is this is probably something to be planning for. You probably should be stocking up on things that you can, you know, kind of heal your body. And of course, we don't know all the things yet because it's so new, but there's lots of natural things that people can take to make your body just stronger and better and more resilient, have a better immune system, being able to take care of yourself. I would plan, as if especially if we start to see this thing progress, we start seeing more of it over the next coming weeks and months. Whatever you experienced during this past health crisis, multiplied at least tenfold. That's what I would guess. I can remember back, and I'm sure many of you can too, back when it started 3 years ago, there were a lot of experts, a lot of people in kind of our conservative circles saying, even in the very early days of it, that they felt that one was going to be not a big deal, not really that deadly, just kind of conditioning us for when the real one hits. And maybe that's now. I don't know. I'm not making predictions, but certainly I would encourage you to kind of keep this one on your radar and be thinking about it and doing the things that you need to be doing to stock up and prepare, which is what you should be doing for any of this stuff that's happening. Because this whole global war thing is just, it's picking up pace. It's moving faster, folks. And I don't think we're too far away from when it kind of does expand greatly. Folks, now is the time to get your houses in order. It's time to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.